So yeah, we're 8-handed, and I've got 600 in stack and cover the villain here, who is on the has 490.
All right, so 490 effective.
Right.
Okay.
So pre-flop, there's an early position limp from an OMC, and three folds to this loose aggressive villain on the button, and he raises to 15, which is the standard open without limps.
Right. Okay.
And I thought of your small stakes exploits at this point, but
Mm-hmm.
heroes in the big blind with queen of spades, queen of clubs.
So hero is in big blind hero with queen of spades, queen of clubs, and of course the small stakes exploit that Slow Poker is talking about from my small stakes exploit guide is three betting sizing that comes pre-flop that's sort of out of the box small after people have entered the pot is how I would simplify it, where you see maybe multiple limps and a guy, opens to 3x or 4x or opens to a pre-flop raise size that doesn't really take into account the limps. That's usually a very weak hand. It's one of the things that I've picked up in live poker over the last 15 years, especially at this level. I assume that you're going to 3-bet here.
Right. Yeah. So I called 3-bet to 50, which is my first question. I feel like that was a little low, but I had a feeling like the OMC was snap folding, which he did.
I mean, I think it's fine. It's 3x plus a limp. The guy's only 490 effective, so you can get it in. I mean, you could go to 60, 65, 70, but it seems like you can get in a lot of money post flop here as well.
Right. That was my thinking. And the button snap called.
So the limper folds, right?
Right.
All right, limper folds and the button calls. So it looks like you're maybe like 105 or something to the flop.
Right. Yep.
Okay. How much is the drop in the rake in Jacksonville, by the way?
I think it was 10% up to 5.
Okay.
I think
10% up to 5. Okay.
so. The flop is 7 of hearts, 9 of spades, 4 of clubs.
Okay, so it's a ragged board here, right? It's a ragged board, 7-9-4 rainbow. But there isn't a ton of connection. I mean, there are multiple straight draws and stuff too, but I would not check here. That's another small stakes exploit. I mean, this is not like 6-7-8. This is 7-9-4 rainbow.
Right. Yeah, I felt pretty good about this flop. And I guess my next question, I led for 75, which felt high, but I'd seen this player call pretty much every flop bet, regardless of equity. So I just thought, get some value while the going's good, get some value while I know he's calling. But I don't know if that sounds just outrageously high.
I don't think that sounds outrageously high. I mean, if you go half the size of the pot, I would just be trying to shape this to get all the money in, to be honest with you. If you go half the size of the pot, like 50, and he makes the call, the pot will be 200 and I'll have like 390 left. When you go 75 here, and if he makes the call, the pot's going to be 250, right? I think I had said 200. Yeah, 200. Yeah, so the pot's going to be 250 and he's going to have like 375 left. So whatever, 50, 75, someplace in between. I think it's all fine.
Okay. And he, as expected, he quickly called.
So button calls. So pot is what, 265, right?
Right around there. I think I had 257, but it could be around there. I'm not positive.
Okay.
So the turn is completes the rainbow. It's a 6 of diamonds.
6 of diamonds. Okay. It starts to get a little bit sticky here with some straights and some 2-pair types of holdings.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I had my eye on a hand like 10-8, but this guy was loose, but he was mostly raising, sort of standard hands. And not that 10-8 isn't a standard hand, but I wasn't too worried about 10-8. I got the sense just that I was still ahead, so I bet 100.
So again, he's got about 375 left or something like that. If you bet 100 here, the pot will be like 465, and then he'll have about 250 to 275 left. I think that's fine. So hero bets 100. Okay.
Yeah, I was waffling on the sizing, but I figured kind of anywhere in that territory kind of tees up the SPR for, kind of a natural river jam, assuming the river's clean.
I mean, another way to play this, if this is truly a lag player, because I'm not really overly concerned about getting stacked here in a 3-bet pot with an overpair against a quote unquote lag player playing 490 effective in a 3-bet pot. You could also check jam here. I mean, you could get he might be floating with some bullshit like Jack 10 or something like that, or he might feel the need to bet off some small pair like 5-6. And although 5 is open ended now too, so he still might call. But whenever you get into these small stack sort of SPR scenarios, it's really hard to screw up. And sometimes checking actually allows somebody to stab at it and you make more money. But okay, so you bet 100. Okay.
Yeah, I had considered check raising. That's actually, in hindsight, probably
Just check
a
jamming. It's
smart
just
play.
just because of
Yeah,
SPR, you know.
right. And
Uh,
not to spoil it, but 6-5. I thought of 6-5, and so the river
so he
was
calls, right? So the button
he
calls.
called. Yeah, he called, and he tank called, and during his tank he said, um, he guessed out loud that I had jacks, which I firmly believed him. That I don't think he was Hollywooding. I think that told me right away that I was ahead.
So the villain has like 265 or 275 left, and the pot's 465. All right, so what's the river?
River's a 5 of clubs.
Wow. Okay, so obviously hero 3 bets out of this big blind, right? With queen queen against this button open over the top of a limp. 794 rainbow. Hero bets 75 call. Now turn is a 6. Hero bets 100 call. Pot's 465. Villain has 265 left. And now the river is a 5. So it puts a one-liner out there to an 8. And also, too, you have this on your vlog, right? Because I think I remember going and watching it, right?
Yeah, this is actually the first hand of the first episode, so it's a little rough in quality, but yeah, this is the very first hand that I put on there.
Yeah. So that's a really, really sticky river. I mean, that's a really bad river. There's all kinds of 2 pair and stuff like this that really can come into play. Here's the thing. The way that you said it, you said that the turn brought in total rainbow. So there's no possible flush draw out here. 7 of hearts, 9 of spades, 4 of clubs, 6 of diamonds. I don't really think that there's really all that much value in betting here. Again, to kind of pick up on the last caller, once in a great while, if you had like half pot size bet left or less, and here, well, he's got 265 left. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me in Jacksonville if somebody finds a call here with 10-9. So you are shallow enough where maybe you could just bet here and get called here by a 9, but you'd have to go through the combos like, does he have king 9, ace 9, jack 9, queen 9, 10-9? I still think all those hands are calling in Jacksonville versus, how many 2 pair combos does this 5 bring in? And then obviously 8x. The kind of standard play here is to check. If you are not playing against a maniacal player, that you get into this situation like when we had a CLP subscriber, Nate, on from several months ago, and we did a good video where you can check the river, and if it goes check, check, you're going to win, but you can check with the intention of check folding. So there are spots where you get to the river, even though you have a hand that you might think is best, a lot of the time, the play is still to check fold, given the situation, because if it goes check, check, you win. But if you check and your opponent bets, most likely you're not going to have the best hand. So there's that. But then also it's Jacksonville, and you've built the pot up so much here that it's pretty close here. I got to be honest with you. Like, if you had less than 200, if this guy had less than 200 left and the pot was, say, like 500, I would just actually put it in for 40% and still expect to get called by 9x because people just can't fold hands. But here, I could see checking and evaluating.
Yeah, I had a similar mentality. Ace 9, I always feel like I run into ace 9, and usually I find like someone raises me with ace 9 when I've got a hand like this, and they often hit their ace or whatever. But in this case, I was really torn. I tanked for a while out of position, and I couldn't see how a 3 got there, first of all, so I wasn't really worried about that. And I guess my biggest concerns were like a hand like 8-9 suited, 9-8 suited, where he thought I had ace king on the flop, floated, turned open ended, and then got there, or maybe pocket ace for the same reason. And then, like I said, 6-5 felt like the kind of thing where he call
5, 6, any 8, 7, 8.
He backed
9.
into 2-pair.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff out there, 2-pair and straights and stuff like that. So you checked, I guess?
Yeah, I checked with and just my idea was to check and just keep a close eye on him. Basically, if I got any sense of strength, I might check fold. So I did check. Yeah.
Okay, and what happened?
He snap jammed. I mean, it wasn't even. I don't even think I lifted my hand off the felt, and he jammed it in there.
So let me ask you this question, because I watched your video, and maybe if we do this for a best of, I'll link the this particular hand in the description. But again,
Oh,
people
thank you.
watching the live stream can just do this search on Slow Poker. I don't know which date this was coming from, but
Episode 1, so I think it's
oh,
September
it's okay.
20
So it's
something.
easy to
Yeah.
find episode 1. You didn't do any editing in the video because after the button snap jammed, it seemed to me on your vlog that you snap called.
Oh, so it's a bit of a trick of the editing. In real time, I tanked for about 45
Okay.
seconds on the river and then checked. He snap jammed and I probably tanked about 5-10 seconds. I just to sort of just kind of listen to his voice, looked at his, the way he was sitting, and tried to get a vibe.
And you ended up calling?
I did call, yeah.
Well, I mean, I do know the result, but I would say that, again, I'm trying to give sort of general advice, and somebody who another small stakes exploit. It's amazing how many of these small stakes exploits come out in just everyday hands, right? But I think another small stakes exploit that I truly believe in is that you can discount a lot of bluffs from your opponent on the river if their bluffs are paired. So here, and the other reason why I brought up the fact that there's no backdoor flush draw is because he really shouldn't be calling with a hand like Jack 10 on the turn. Like, there's no gut shot that calls off on flop that picks up something on turn that might arrive here at the end. So when you're in a situation here where all the bluffs would be paired and he can just happily check it back, in general, as the general school of population, this is an underbluff spot. What do you think that he has here?
Well, honestly, the whole time I thought tens. When he said I had pocket jacks, I thought maybe tens.
Why would he jam pocket tens here at the end?
Well, yeah, it's a good question. Honestly, when I was tanking, I had a bunch of thoughts. I had about 5 different ideas, and then but in the end, I settled on checking, not just because it's just a scary river, just because if this was an OMC, I might have played it differently. But I thought either I'm calling knowing that a lot of times I'm dead. But I thought he's jamming no matter what. Like I saw him overplaying rivers constantly, where someone would bet he'd re-raise with some 2 pair, they've got a set, and he loses. He was overplaying rivers constantly. So I just thought
overplaying rivers like in position, you mean? Like turning hands into bluffs that have showdown value?
Yeah, he'd have showdown value and he would just blast off. And I mean,
here's part of the reason. I remember a guy named Hank that I used to play with at Commerce in the early 2000 teens, if anyone's a Commerce regular. And he probably wasn't a winning player, but he'd go on these streaks and he'd put people in spots. But one of the things that he actually did well that maybe even got him to approach being break even is that he recognized his image and he would jam 2 pair for value here, like 5-6. But guys aren't really great lags at this level. And I see them take a lot of showdowns, and it's just hard pressed for me to like see a hand here that turns into a bluff that just jams when they can take a showdown back. Now, I know maybe this guy is a little bit of an outlier, but maybe that you had seen like a lot of stuff. But if you can remember that from the general population, that most of the time when you win this hand, it's going to go check, check. And when he bets at the end, when he can just take a showdown and beat ace king, then it's going to be an underbluff spot. Now, the whole pacing about him snap jamming without sort of a second thought, I mean, that's maybe something here too. So you call, and what ended up happening?
He showed ace of clubs, 6 of clubs.
Ace of clubs, 6 of clubs?
Which I did not see coming at all.
So he did turn a 6 into a bluff here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. I mean, like I said, I can't... if there's guys that are outliers, there's guys that are outliers. But in general, when someone has showdown value here at the end, they're usually not going to take a hand that beats ace king and turn it into a bluff. Obviously, he's calling the flop unbelievably wide here, with a backdoor flush draw and ace high on 7-9-4, picks up a pair on the turn. And then on the river here, he bets. And I guess he thinks he's going to get you off of an overpair.
He said at the end, I knew you had an overpair. And I mean, in his defense, I almost folded. I don't want to be one of those players who just is staring down at queens, kings, and aces and just and forgets that it's just one pair. But honestly, what you said about Showdown is spot on, and this is the only player at the table where I just had a feeling like he's not gonna just take the Showdown value. He's gonna go for it. He was just doing that constantly. So it was just his table image kind of screwed him here.
Well, okay. Thank you very much for the call. Again, you can check out this guy's vlogs, Slow Poker, John. Thank you, John.
And good luck to you and your wife.
Oh, thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel, and check out the coupon code in the description to try out the Crush Live Poker training site for free.